Welcome back. In this episode, we continue advancing through the Ivy era, diving into the intricate process of forging Nether Stars, a wild ride of chemical baths, mixers, and explosives. This is Star Technology. Let's get into it. So first up today, I want to close a little gap that we have. So we needed to make laminated glass for something, and I made just the one because I didn't want to have to bother with the polyvinyl butyrol recipe or everything that was entailed with that. But laminated glass is turning up in a few recipes now, and I want to be able to make that on demand and not have to make it by hand. So we have to go through a little bit of this process here. So we're going to need to make liquid polyvinyl butyrol, which requires butyraldehyde and polyvinyl acetate. Polyvinyl acetate is made from oxygen and vinyl acetate. Pretty simple. Vinyl acetate is oxygen, acetic acid, and ethylene. They're all base materials that we have. So this is where we'll start. I won't build this as a large chemical reactor for space reasons. I don't think it needs it because this is pretty quick. So we'll build some chemical reactors. So chemical reactor for the vinyl acetate and then another one for the polyvinyl acetate. So that I can put those two together and it'll just pipe from one to the other. This chemical reactor is what will create the liquid polyvinyl butyrol. I might make this a large chemical reactor because from the looks of it, it is a slow process. So being able to overclock it to say LUV would be handy. And then we need to make the butyraldehyde, which is just propene and hydrogen. Okay, so that's another chemical reactor. So 3 chemical reactors and 1 large chemical reactor, I think is what I'm going to need. Now let's go have a look where we might put it. Running out of space there. Okay, it could go here. This is kind of out of the way under the stairs. Yeah, I was going to put stairs. I was going to put stairs here, but I miscalculated. Turns out that there's a lot of stuff in the way above, so I think the stairs are going to go over there now, which I might have goofed there as well. I don't know. But a large chemical reactor and 2 normal chemical reactors shouldn't take up too much space here. What's this here? Methanol. I didn't end up using that. Not quite enough space there. Running out of space down here, which is interesting because I didn't think I was going to. I didn't realize there was going to be so many machines. Let's put it here. Let's drop the large chemical reactor here, and then maybe maybe I could stack them vertically. The 3 chemical reactors like that. Well, let's do that then. So what kind of chemical reactors are we going to get? I have the elite chemical reactor. I might as well build them, right? All right, so let's request 3 of those. I need the bits for the large chemical reactor, which I think I already have in my inventory. Yeah, got that. Yeah, I'll grab those components and then get ready for this build. And I'll be back shortly. Okay, ready to go. I had a quick rethink about it. I've realized I could actually put the 3 chemical reactors up against the large chemical reactor and then have them just export into the block itself. And that way we don't need any pipes or anything like that. So this is going to be the new configuration. Start with the energy hatches. Just rotate them into place as we usually do. It's a very cool trick. I like that. Let's put some of these casings in. Tripper nickel. This will feed into there. This one will feed into there and there. So we need 2 hatches. So I'll put the input hatches like this. And then we should be able to just fill this in and that. And then we need the output. Cool. All right. So that block is complete. It's ready to go. 3 elite chemical reactors here. This bottom one is going to be creating vinyl acetate. We want it to vent the water and send the vinyl acetate upwards. Put an export bus on that. So put a capacity card in there, take it up to 5, because for this particular recipe, we're going to be making vinyl acetate. So we need 3 inputs: oxygen, acetic acid, and ethylene. Okay, they're all in there. It needs a program circuit of 3. Electric pump on the top face, which we will configure with a fluid filter, vinyl acetate, and export. So that will go up. That's good. Now I need one of those venting covers. So go to fluid voiding cover and stick it on that side there. It doesn't need to have a face that we can access, and I'll put a fluid filter in there, and that will just be water. Turn that on, so water will be vented. Now the other things we want here, oxygen and program circuit 1. So let's go to program circuit 1. Export bus on that for oxygen, which we can just export directly into, actually, well, that will pull it out, won't it? And then the next one is the butyraldehyde. So we're gonna need those 3 inputs, and that just outputs. So let's tell that to output like that. We just need a capacity card in here, propane, hydrogen, carbon monoxide. All right, let's see how it goes. Actually, maybe I'll switch this one off just temporarily. So we're just dealing with one at a time. Got acetic acid coming in. We need to change this to round robin. Let's get some accelerator cards on that. It's going pretty quick. The vinyl acetate is going up into there, which is a good sign. Let's put some speed cards on this. Quiet that one down. We need some more accelerator cards in that. Bang, bang, and then round robin. Yep, that's all in there. So let's turn that one on. That is going into there, the butyraldehyde. And then let's turn this one on. There we go. Oh, wow, that's quick. Let's quiet some of these down. But over here, we should be finding liquid polyvinyl butyrol. Awesome. All right, let's put a storage bus on that. And then, actually, do I want a tank for that? And then set this up with an emitter. Yeah, let's do that. Because this can only contain 16 buckets. If we need to create a lot of them, then that might be a bit slow. Let's get a tank. Super tank, that'll do. Pop that on there. You tell it to allow input. So it's done. Let's put a storage bus on that. Wire this up. That on there. Level emitter. And then some more of this pipe. And then cable. And let's say, I don't know, 1,000 buckets. All right. And these are just doing their job. Yeah, this is the slow one. So we're waiting on this one. So every 3 seconds, it produces a bucket of butyraldehyde, which this thing consumes pretty quickly. Okay, well, that's good. So now what do we need to do that last step of this? So laminated glass requires the plate. And to make the plate, we're just going to extrude from an ingot. So we need something to make the ingots, which I'm guessing would be the fluid solidifier. Yep, so we need to set up that pattern. Encode that ingot. And then I need the plate recipe as well, which I think we said was the extruder. Yep, that one. Get rid of that. And then the last thing we need is the actual laminated glass recipe, which would be tempered glass, polyvinyl butyrol thing in a forming press. Okay, that's new. We don't have a forming press. I mean, we have one over here. So we're going to have to make one and hook it up to the ME system. It's a weird one, the forming press. It's not used very often. An advanced one would be enough, wouldn't it? How slow is that other recipe? Like if we need a lot of laminated glass, what's going to happen? So if we do an EV one, it's going to be, it's 5 seconds. That's not nice. I guess we'll do an IV one then. Assuming that we can. Oh, it looks like we can. Won't make a recipe for it. I'll just... Why does that happen? Maybe someone can explain why this happens sometimes. Some ingredients could not be extracted from the network. Like 8 millibuckets of vinyl chloride. And retrying, it's like it doesn't exist. But if you replan it, it works. Weird. I don't know what to make of that. But there's my forming press. Put that there. No, glass recipe. I'll just do this for now. That should be everything. See if we can make some laminated glass. Let's make 16. Okay, yeah, it's kicking on. Nice. Okay. Well, that's that. So that's good. I don't think we can tick anything off. There we go. Laminated glass is done. One thing I do like about this recipe here is that it's a sink for some of the things we don't use too much of. So we're not using acetic acid or carbon monoxide, I don't think, for anything. So those were building up quite a lot. We've got, yeah, like 1,000 buckets of acetic acid. Yeah, like 66,000 buckets of carbon monoxide. How are we producing acetic acid? Must be a distillation recipe. Ah, okay, it'd be this wood vinegar. Is that the only way to make it? Okay. That's why we don't have excessive quantities of it. Cool, all right, done. I just remembered what it was that I wanted to build with that laminated glass. It was an elite chemical bath, because these chemical baths here that I'm using for doing some ore washing, but with sodium persulfate and mercury, they're a little bit slow compared to the main one, so I just wanted to upgrade them. And the elite chemical bath requires laminated glass. So that's what that was about. So I'm going to queue those up and replace these. So as you can see, one of the things I've done here is moving the alloy blast smelters that we had and finishing off the set of 6 that we've got here. So each of these is on a different program circuit. I should probably put signs on there actually to help me out, but this one's 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way up to 16 over here. That should cover all the different alloys that we want to create. I think there's a few others. I noticed there's one that's actually on program circuit 10 that obviously we're going to have to figure out what to do with that. But I think we can probably just put a second set of hatches on this one and just reuse it. Because as it turns out, this program circuit 11, I think there's only one single recipe that uses program circuit 11. So I didn't really check that out before I created this setup. But yeah, that's that. So one thing I've also done is gone through and created all the different recipes for the alloys we're going to need along here. So yeah, ink alloy, stellite, titanium, tungsten carbide, xeron, etc. So that's all already in here, all good to go. And I've tested that they all work. So we should be able to request all of those when we need to. Won't use them quite yet because I think that'd be quite involved creating these machines. So that might be an entire episode in itself. But for now, I think we want to start heading down a few of the other paths. So really, what do we have left? Well, there's this alloy smelting path, which I just mentioned. The Nether Star path here, which is quite complicated, lots of different steps in it. Then there's this netherite part, which is quite interesting in itself. And then there's also this section here, which I haven't really looked into, but there's a lot of steps. So it's probably pretty complicated. And then this other bit here. So really, like, whatever we decide to do is going to be complicated. The Nether Stars give us quantum stars. I'm not even sure what we use them for. What do we use quantum stars for? IV field. Okay, we need it for the IV emitter. That would be useful to have. The elite laser engraver would be pretty useful to have, because laser engraving is pretty slow. And of course the elite circuit assembler, which we're going to need. What else is that? Parallel control hatch. Yeah, okay. There's a few things that we're going to need. So I think heading down the path of getting this sorted would be a good idea. Now, as you can see, we've already got the blaze powder. That was pretty simple. Can't remember what we needed that for, but the recipe for that is carbon and sulfur in a chemical reactor. If we go back to some of these others, basalts is similar. It's rhodium and helium, makes that powder. Blizz is cobalt and fluorine, and Blitz is platinum and deuterium. So they're not too hard to make. This one requires an EV chemical reactor. And then once we have those, we create these charges. So using coal, gunpowder, and whatever powder we created, it creates a charge. So that's true of all of them. The fire charge recipe is bugged, but that should be gunpowder, I'm assuming, because that would make sense. Then when you have the fire charges, you use 8 of them, and you have an 80% chance of making a Nether Star essence. Once you have the Nether Star essence, in a chemical bath with radon gas, it produces a Nether Star shard. Then you macerate that shard to produce a small pile of Nether Star dust, and then collect 4 of those together, craft them into a Nether Star dust, like that. From there, using something called an implosion compressor, we take that Nether Star dust using some kind of an explosive and turn it into a Nether Star. Or in fact, 3 Nether Stars. Now, that's pretty involved. As you can see from the quest log, there's a lot of different steps here. The implosion compressor is something that's just off to the side here. I actually created it because I was looking for a different way to make Certus quartz. The process of actually creating them in an autoclave is really slow, even with distilled water. Over here, I've built 3 elite autoclaves, and it's still taking 2 seconds or so to create one Certus quartz. And we go through them pretty quickly when we build large storage devices. So what I thought I'd do is have a look at other ways to make Certus quartz. And one of the things you can do is using implosion compressor. So this is actually very quick. So taking the Certus quartz dust using some kind of an explosive, it just compresses it down into a Certus quartz crystal. Say, for example, like using the powder barrel every second, or if we just overclock it to say, EV or whatever, it is very, very quick. It just churns these out. Now, the problem is you've got to create some sort of explosive. So there's 4 different explosives that it can use. They vary in their explosive yield. So in order of going up from looks of it, there's powder barrels, TNT, dynamite, and then industrial TNT, just going off of the numbers involved. Powder barrels are pretty easy to make. It's just gunpowder, wooden planks, and string. But that's a lot of annoying materials to create, especially since we need 8 of them. So it uses a lot of gunpowder, go through tons and tons of wood planks, and string is not something I've made renewable yet. I'd have to go get out the silkworms again, which is not something I'm fond of doing manually. After that, if you go up to the next tier, it's just TNT. So using something called gelled toluene and sulfuric acid, you can make TNT. So gelled toluene is just sugar, polyethylene pulp, and toluene in a chemical reactor. So that's pretty easy if we can get a source of sugar. So sugar is, the easiest way to get it is to just macerate sugarcane. So what I've actually done is create a sugarcane farm over here. So this is hooked up into the system with a storage bus, and so that just is creating sugarcane. That's TNT, so sulfuric acid, some gelled toluene. To go up to the next tier, it's dynamite. So we're back again with the string, so I don't really want to do that. And also something called glycerol trinitrate. That seems pretty complicated. But industrial TNT is pretty interesting because that's gelled toluene and something called nitration mixture. And that makes one industrial TNT and this diluted sulfuric acid. So we get some of that back that we can distill and turn back into sulfuric acid. Now, gelled toluene, is, as you saw before, is just sugar and a few other things. That's not too hard. And the nitration mixture is actually pretty easy. Nitric acid and sulfuric acid. So what I've done is create a process for that. So that is just sitting over here. What we've got here is just a mixer with sulfuric acid and nitric acid coming in. Now I'm using something interesting here, which is a quadruple input hatch. So this is a new input hatch you can use once you get to the EV tier. There's a few different versions of it, but the lowest tier one is EV. So we haven't had access to it before. But what's interesting is it has 4 separate fluid hatches within it. Hooking up an export bus to it, it will just automatically fill up one of those hatches, like one of those sort of tanks within the hatch, which makes working with multiple fluids much, much simpler. So using this one single export bus and this one single quadruple input hatch, both of those fluids are taken care of, and you don't have to do anything with making sure that they don't fill it up altogether. That automated this process very well, creates loads of nitration mixture. It is very, very quick. Didn't need this to be a large mixer. I should have probably done just a normal mixer. I didn't realize. But anyway, it's there. Turns out nitration mixture is useful for other things as well. It's actually used in the chemical reactor to make the industrial TNT, but also later on, react it with chlorobenzene. We can make nitrochlorobenzene and also nitrobenzene and this other stuff. So there's other usages for it, which will probably come in handy. So having a source of it, I thought made sense just to set it up and passive it. Over here is where I was thinking I was going to set up the Nether Star creation step. So we're going to have sort of pairs of machines here. So there'll be a machine that creates the dust or the powder, and then the machine that creates the charge for it. So probably going down, I guess, or up, whichever way. So we'll have the mixer, which makes the Nether Star essence. Then we'll have the chemical bath that makes the Nether Star shard. Then the macerator that turns that into the shard, or so a small pile. Packer that turns it into a Nether Star dust. And then that will be coming over here to where the implosion compressor is going to go. And then separately, this will be making the explosives. So over here, we'll have the macerator that macerates the sugarcane into sugar. And then another macerator that is turning the polyethylene ingots into polyethylene pulp. They're being reacted together in the chemical reactor to create the gelled toluene. That now will come into here along with sulfuric acid, and that will create the industrial TNT. And then this industrial TNT and the output from that packer will come here into the implosion compressor and create the Nether Stars. So the implosion compressor turned out to be a bit of a failed experiment because I was using it to make the Certus quartz crystals a lot quicker, but I ran out of gunpowder very, very quickly and couldn't maintain a good supply of it, so it didn't seem to be worth it. So I just switched back to using autoclaves and just passived it. Now basically it's been sitting here idle, so I'll just move that over there, I guess, or I could leave it here. It's already part of the ME system. Yeah, okay. Why would I move it? I don't understand. Oh, I'll leave it there. So ignore this. And yeah, so this will be the next build. And that will get us the Nether Stars, which will give us the Quantum Stars. I've grabbed all the components I need and just done a little bit of prep work. The power setup that we're going to need, it's already hooked up. I've also got some of this ME cable, some extended export buses all ready to go with capacity cards and things. And same over here, and yeah, just over here. So let's get started. So we're going to have sort of 4 different columns here, all tightly packed, that will have chemical reactors at the bottom and mixers at the top. We'll do like this. So that's a chemical reactor, mixer, reactor, mixer, chemical reactor, mixer, chemical reactor, mixer. Right. That's all done. They are all powered up and ready. In this bottom one here, we are going to be making blaze powder. So let's set up that import, the carbon dust and sulfur. And we want to set that to round robin. Now that is a problem. It has filled up already. Hang on. Why is carbon dust not coming through at all? I'll take that out. Does that work? It does. Okay, so this first one is actually going to be a bit of a problem because there's 2 dusts involved. And so they are going to want to fill up these 2 slots. But the rest all involve a dust and a fluid. So that will be fine. So for these 3 imports, that'll work. This one here, we're going to have to do it differently. I think I'm going to have to get rid of this extended export bus, replace it with an interface, and then put in some robot arms, I guess. Well, let's come back to this one because we can fix that later. But these 3 here we can set up. So here we're going to have rhodium dust and helium gas. I'll set that to round robin. Got some cobalt and some fluorine and some platinum and deuterium. All right, so that's already making the Basal's powder, Blizz powder, and Blitz powder. About 3 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay, not too bad. The mixer recipes that we're going to use are all basically the same. So we'll use that powder that's coming in, as well as these other things like coal and gunpowder. Now, I have just remembered that this is going to be a bit of a problem. We're going to have to use robot arms and things again. Well, that's a bit of a pain. I was hoping this would be a nice, easy setup, but this is going to be complicated if we do it this way. It'd be so much simpler just to use a mixer, like a large block mixer, because then you can keep the buses separate. We'll continue this way. I've done a little bit of reconfiguring, replaced the extended export bus with an interface. I've set up the elite chemical reactor with an LV robot arm that has a filter on it that is telling it to keep exact, so carbon and sulfur. So should be able to just hit import, and that is now working. Brilliant. Okay, so that's creating the blaze powder. But where is that blaze powder going? It's being pulled into the system, I think. We don't want that. Let's do that. And now it's staying there. Excellent. All right, that's not going out through the interface. Now, each of these is working quite well. What I've done for each of these elite mixers on top, I've added a robot arm, and I've also put another item filter on it, importing coal dust and gunpowder with keep exact. So if we hook up some interfaces on here, that should then work. How are we going to do this? Probably around the side here, I guess. So hopefully, coal dust and gunpowder. Coal dust, gunpowder. Each of those should be 8 each, which they are. Just ignore this one. I did some testing just before, that's why it's got some earth charges that it's already created. Now that is looking good. So all we should have to do from here is tell it to export upwards. There we go. Now that's making the fire charges, so I'll do the same here. And here. And here. Let's silence these. One thing I did miss is that both coal dust and gunpowder are things that are crafted in my system. So I'm gonna have to add a crafting card to each of these to tell it that it can make these if there is none available. So coal dust is obviously just macerating coal, and gunpowder is constructed. So that should, if I put the right one in, yeah. That should allow it to manufacture those now. I'm gonna put storage buses across the front. If I don't do that, the alternative is to just tell it to import into these interfaces, like just to export. But to stop this from filling up our system, we'd have to put some of those emitters and machine controllers on it, so it's the same. Partition each of these. So next we want to create this mixer. So this is what's going to combine the charges from up here. So we'll do the same thing we did before, robot arm and all that kind of stuff. Put a robot arm in there. Or should I put that at the back? No, I'll put it at the top, that's all right. Robot arm and then an item filter. Because I want only 8 of each of those different types. I don't want to fill up all the slots. So do this, put that in there, and then we'll just grab these charges. So we want fire charge, earth charge, ice charge, and lightning charge. Gotta keep exact. And I think we wanted 8 of each. Cool. Tell it to import, and then we can just put an interface on top of that. And then we'll just do the same thing here. So we'll put in fire charge, earth charge, ice charge, and lightning charges. Once that is hooked up, like that, that should now go into there. There we go. And that's making our Nether Star essence. Quieten that machine down. So next we want the chemical bath. So first things first, we need to export that into here. Nether Star essence. And then the other ingredient we need is going to be radon gas. Export bus. Hopefully the setup for these machines should be a bit easier, less complicated, because it's only really a few ingredients. There we go. And we'll silence that. So next we want a macerator. I'll tell that to output that way. The macerator is already working, because that's all input it needs. And then we want the packer. I'll tell that to auto output. Now I think this might require a program circuit to tell it to do the right thing. Yes, program circuit 1. And that's already done. So let's silence this machine. And that's ready to go. So that's our source of Nether Star dust. So now it's near a storage bus. That on the side there. And partition that. Cool. Well, this part here was a lot simpler than that mess. That's good, I guess. How are we going here? So this is... Yeah, okay, so this is keeping up. This is filling up with charges. And this is going... This is the slow part here. Cool, all right. So now that we have the Nether Star dust, we can actually bring it into here. This should be ready to go. Okay, that's cool. We need to create the TNT. So as I said before, we've got 2 macerators, 2 chemical reactors. This macerator is taking the sugar cane, turning it into sugar. This one is taking polyethylene ingots and turning them into polyethylene pulp. We're reacting them together in the chemical reactor to make gelled toluene. And then we're pumping it into here, along with some other stuff. What other stuff? Oh, wait a second. I think I've made a mistake. I have... The gel toluene is going to require 3 inputs, and I can't do that in this configuration. Okay, I'll have to rethink that and come back. Okay, so I've rethought how this is going to work, and I've come to an insight. We don't need to use a macerator to make sugar, because there's actually a crafting recipe that turns sugarcane directly into sugar. So that's one thing. The other is that making the polyethylene pulp from the polyethylene ingots is actually very quick, and we don't need to set up a machine here to do it. We can actually use the crafting system. by doing that, that's 2 extra steps we don't have to do in this little area here, which means that what these 2 machines here can be is just chemical reactors. So place those 2 in. So the top one is going to be making the gelled toluene. So gelled toluene, made from sugar, polyethylene pulp, and toluene. What we're going to have to do is to make sure that this thing doesn't fill up both of the slots with one of those ingredients, we're going to need to use a robot arm, which means that we need an interface on the other side as a pump for the toluene. We can't have a robot arm and a pump on the same side. Get the polyethylene pulp and the sugar. Now, we'll tell it can craft it if required. So I've got recipes in the crafting system to make both polyethylene pulp and sugar. I set up the crafting recipe to macerate 64 ingots of polyethylene to make the pulp. Because the maceration process is very quick, it will do that once and then use up that pulp and then do it again, and then that way the macerator is not used full time. So that's that side. We want toluene on this side. All right, so now we've got the toluene coming in. And we've got those 2, so it's just a matter of combining it here. What we'll do is put a pump on this edge and then a robot arm on this side. On the robot arm, we're going to have to add an item filter, and it's going to have to be sugar and polyethylene pulp. Keep exact and set these to, I don't know, about 8, I guess, and tell it to import. So that should be in there now. Yep, excellent. And then this one is a bit simpler. We just need to tell it to import. And that should start up. Actually, no. Counted it wrong. It's actually 9 sugar we need. We'll just change that. There we go. And that's making the gelled toluene. And then we just need to export that downwards and import the other ingredient. Hang on. That could be an export. Otherwise, I need a pump. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Make this nitration mixture. There we go. Put in a few accelerator cards just to be quicker. And then I'll tell this to export downwards. And now that is making industrial TNT. So that is an interface. I should change that for a storage bus, I think. I'll partition that. Oh, wait, hang on a second. I did want to pull that diluted sulfuric acid out. Oh no, that should be fine. That should automatically be extracted. Yeah, it is. I've got a process downstairs that recycles sulfuric acid if it's been diluted. So that TNT is actually being pulled out. I think it's coming over here. And I've already set up an interface here. And as you can see, yes, it's actually bringing it in. So we've got Nether Star dust in there. And we need, I think, 3 Nether Star dust before it will actually make a Nether Star. I think it's already kicked off and made some from the looks of it. We need 4. Okay, so we need that to build up. And then we'll get to see it in action. But it is actually very quick. In fact, what I might do is just turn this off so that I can show you what happens when it's actually working. The Nether Star dust is very slow to make, I've discovered. So the bottleneck is this part here. If you look at this machine here, it's got 8 fire, 8 earth, 8 lightning, but it's missing the 8 ice. So it's missing the ice charges. That's the slow part, and it's because of this machine here. Because the others are pretty much just idle, waiting for this machine. So I may need to double this up or actually pull this out and make a proper large chemical reactor that I can overclock. It's taking 10 seconds per cycle. This other one is 5 and these other 2 are 3, I think. So after all the process goes through, the macerator produces a small pile of Nether Star dust after that long process, which is multiple cycles of 10 seconds. And then we need 4 of those to make a Nether Star dust. So it's not quick, that's for sure. How are we going here? Do we have enough? Almost. We should have some in our system now because it should have imported it. We do. 51. Okay. So we should probably figure out the last step as well, I guess, because we want the quantum stars, not the Nether Stars. That's what we're actually looking for. So do I have a chemical bath somewhere that I can use for crafting? I do. I guess that will probably work. I mean, that is a quantum eye there. So let's make a pattern for that. I want a quantum star. That'd be 1.25. And then also the thing that's missing, which I'm guessing is the Nether Star. This recipe seems to be bugged. Whoops, not 51. There we go. Nether Star. I think that should work. Let's find our chemical bath. I hope it's the high enough tier, otherwise we're gonna have to build a new one. So, all right, by now this should have got enough in here. It does. All right, watch this. Yeah, that was it. That large explosion. So every once in a while, this thing is going to make a colossal bang. So let me just silence that. But yeah, that was it. Blink and you miss it. But now we should be able to request a quantum star. Let's see if this works. How long does it take? Oh, okay, 96 seconds. Yikes. Okay. I am going to build a new chemical bath, I think. For now, I just want to make sure it's working. So let's go find that. Well, I hear the sloshing, so yeah, it's making it. Cool. All right. Just need to do an upgrade there. I think I've got a recipe for an elite chemical bath. Yes, I do. Okay, I'll get one of those queued up and we'll replace that. But what we can do now is probably grab a bunch of these things and tick these off. So what I'll do is I'll just go and grab all those different components to tick the quests off and come back. Okay, so I've grabbed all of those. I can click this button to just grab them all, which is very satisfying. And now I think it means that we can now finally tick this off. Well, we've already built some of those, so I can just grab one from in here. Like this one. Nothing in there. Let's grab that. Cool. And just put that back. Make sure I tell it to export. All right, that's that. We can tick this off. And now we have achieved our objective. We've done all the Nether Star stuff. Okay, that took a little bit longer than I thought. That was a bit trickier than I thought. Next up, we're probably going to tackle the netherite business over here because we probably want that netherite mesh and the netherite upgrade and other things as well. That is what I'll do next episode. Standing out here in the sort of the grassy area, just as a sort of reminder that we do need to take breaks and get outside and touch grass, as they say. So yeah, don't just spend all your time building all the time. What are we doing next? Probably that netherite stuff. That's pretty exciting. There's some interesting quirks with that process, which is going to be fun. We can probably get that new circuit assembler with that IV emitter. Probably start looking at new circuits. But that will happen in the next episode. So join me for that. Thanks for watching and cheers.